Everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Sabrina Chi, the Cybersecurity Marketing Lead here at CDW Canada, and I'm really excited to kick things off with our session, The Future of Cybersecurity. Are you ready for Pan OS 12.1 Orion? As we all know, cybersecurity is constantly evolving, and keeping up means having the right tools and strategy in place. Pan OS 12.1 Orion introduces some powerful updates that help simplify, strengthen, and scale network security across physical, virtual, and cloud environments. And today we'll walk you through what's new, why it matters, and how it can support your security goals. We've got two incredible speakers joining us. Eric Van Worden, Senior Manager within Palo Alto Network's Network Security Go-to-Market team. Eric has been in the tech industry for over 25 years and specializes in helping customers achieve effective network security across all environments by leveraging a consolidated platform. And for the next slide, we have Peter Stack, Manager of Security Solution Architecture at CDW. Peter is a seasoned cybersecurity leader with over 20 years of experience providing both technical and business leadership to help organizations design and implement modern security strategies. They'll be sharing key insights, best practices, and actionable takeaways throughout today's session. A quick note before we dive in, this webinar is being recorded and we'll send over the presentation deck after the webinar ends. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat at any time. We'll make sure to cover as many as possible during the discussion. With that, let's get started. Eric, over to you.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Sabrina. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate your time. I know time is valuable, especially in the security world. So, I'll spend the next, let's just say, half hour giving you some perspective on some things we just released in our network security division last month, and just really give you some perspective also on what we're seeing in terms of ongoing threats. And then what I'll do is pass it over to Peter to give you some perspective on how CDW can help you all, and then we'll open up to questions. So before I kind of dive into what Palo Alto Networks has recently announced, officially it was September 9th, so literally a month ago, I want to give you some perspective that, again, the reason why we are launching these things is really because we continue to see threats, going up and to the right. As much as we would like threats to start to go a different direction, we continue to see the amount of attackers and breaches increase day over day, month over month. In fact, what we're projecting is about a 400% increase in attacks right now in 2025 versus what we saw a year ago. And in addition to just the amount of attackers and attacks that we're seeing, the sophistication of these attacks has also changed significantly, again, even in the last year. We're seeing attacks that are much more evasive. So something that maybe a tool 5-10 years ago would have caught is really something that these new threats are just a lot more sophisticated in terms of the way they're able to stay hidden. And then also we're starting to see, and of course, in 0 day. So most of the attacks we're seeing today are something that we didn't see yesterday. So again, if you're leveraging some type of technology that relies on a list of known threats, that won't apply to most of the modern attacks that we're seeing today. And then the last thing is just from a speed of breach cycle, or from the time a attacker tries to get into a network, finds something, and then exfiltrates that information out. A year ago that was taking days, potentially, or a month or two. Now, again, in 2025, we're seeing that compressed down into hours, and it's projected that we'll probably see that breach lifecycle shrink down to minutes next year. And really, the reason is the biggest driver for this is really the bad guys are leveraging the same technology that we all are trying to embrace to do good. So things like machine learning, AI, automation, cloud. And these are all things that are really significantly making impact to what we're seeing here on the screen, which is really the reason why we have to continually, as a security vendor, as a world leader in cybersecurity, we are continuously trying to innovate and stay on that kind of equal playing field with these adversaries. And so the message I just want to give everybody before I kind of go a little bit more detail around what we launched is, please don't rely on technology you purchased 4, 5, 6 years ago. If you try to leverage old security technology versus the threats that we're seeing today, you're really not on equal playing field, and you really are on sort of your back foot against most of these attackers. So here's, in a nutshell, what we announced last month. Obviously, we don't have time to go through each one of these points, but what I'm going to do is shrink these down into a few different categories that you all can remember exactly kind of what we're focused on. I do want to call out that we've had engineers spending days, nights, and weekends on all these areas, so I don't want to minimize these. These are all very important to different customers. These are specific use cases that a lot of people find very interesting and important. So if you see anything on this screen that catches your attention that we don't talk about today, please feel free to bookmark that. Reach out to CDW. We can get a follow-up call on the calendar at a later date. So let me kind of break this down into, again, to manageable, pillars of innovation, if you want to call it that. There's really 5 areas that we're focused on and that we brought to market last month in the Orion launch. And by the way, I want to take a step back. Although we call it PAN-OS 12.1 Orion, I also want to make sure that people walk away with the understanding that this is not just an operating system upgrade for us. Yes, we did upgrade and update our operating system, but a lot of the innovation has happened not just at the OS level, but across our different solutions within our network security platform. So the first pillar is really this one you see in the top left. This is really what we are doing around helping customers secure their public cloud environment and their AI adoption. And so I'll talk about this a little bit, and just so for context, we'll go a little bit more detail on each one of these, but that's really the first pillar. Second pillar is really what we're doing to help customers around quantum readiness. The third pillar is really what we're doing to augment the capabilities that our firewalls provide out of the box. So if you think about, and we call these security subscriptions, if you think about our security subscriptions as something that you would, let's say if we use an analogy of a cell phone, if you buy a cell phone out of the box, makes great phone calls, texts, sends pictures, provides great capability. But if you want additional features, additional capabilities, then you would add applications to that cell phone. And this is exactly what we do with our firewalls. Our firewalls have amazing capability out of the box, but for different use cases and different environments, customers may elect to add security subscriptions to that firewall to enhance the firewall for additional capabilities. So I'll talk a little bit about that and what we're doing, what we've done in the last couple months in that space. Then on the first horizontal line, for anyone who doesn't know, our latest unified management solution is called Strata Cloud Manager. We've made quite a bit of innovation in this area, so I'll go a little bit more detail on that. And then the last horizontal line at the bottom, just very straightforward, we are releasing 14 new physical firewalls as part of the Orion launch. So if you think about kind of all that stuff I just showed you on the previous slide, it really comes down to our software firewalls, our hardware firewalls, our unified management, our security subscriptions, and quantum readiness. Those are kind of the 5 areas to keep in mind. So let's kind of dive into that a little bit in more detail. Again, before I launch into kind of what we are doing, I want to give you some context. So give you a little bit more of the why we're doing this. We continue to see organizations struggle around protecting their public cloud environments. And that's for a whole host of reasons, but generally it's because customers are moving from a physical data center to maybe at some point they added on-prem virtualization, to then at some point they started to develop, they either started to lift and shift applications into one public cloud, or potentially they started to develop brand new applications in one public cloud. But now what we're seeing is customers really typically leveraging 2 to 3 cloud providers. So a typical customer that we work with still has that physical data center, probably has virtualization on-prem, is probably working with 2 or 3 cloud providers. And now on top of that, they're also trying to adopt AI. And what we've seen is over time, customers have sort of added additional security tools as they've gone on that organic path. And these tools aren't friendly to one another. So it's trying to get these things to talk to each other, trying to provide some cohesive, non-complex way of managing all this. It becomes very difficult. As you can imagine, most of these vendors are not friends; they're competitors, and so really that work ends up falling on the lap of our customers. And a lot of times what happens is, due to all of that complexity from having different security tools for all these different environments, then teams have to rewrite policies for every different environment. And eventually, besides the fatigue that might cause a company, that usually ends up causing some type of human error. And human error is attacker's best friend. And so really what we're seeing is, because of these complex environments and multi-tool usage, and the complexity that brings, and the lack of visibility that brings, that's usually kind of where we start to see some of the threats sort of seep in. So that's really the background for what we're trying to achieve. If you think about what we're doing around both public cloud security and AI security, I wanted to keep it fairly simple. And so I have everything on a single slide. And if you think about the slide as being cut in half, if you look above the line, this is really this is the work that we're doing and launching in Orion to support customers who want to have that multi-cloud environment. So again, if you're working with, let's say, Microsoft and AWS and Google and Oracle, that integration between those cloud properties is really up to you. And historically, that's been very difficult to manage, again, because these are separate, companies that they're not motivated to, work together seamlessly. And so what we're trying to do is really provide that, ability to control your security policies and controls across that multi-cloud landscape, and make that a lot more seamless and easier for our customers. So really 2 things. It gives you better visibility if you're trying to work with multi-cloud environments, and then also makes things just a lot easier and simpler. So there's less room for potential mistakes that could be made. The second thing we're trying to do, in addition to providing multi-cloud capabilities, is really helping customers who want to be leveraging cloud technology, but they may want to do that in their own data center. And so historically, if you wanted the capabilities that are offered through a public cloud, but you wanted to try to build that in your own data center, that's a pretty tall order. It's pretty difficult to essentially create your own private cloud, and even more so trying to protect that private cloud. So we've actually done a lot of work to enable the ability to create your own private cloud in your data center, and kind of have that same a lot of those same capabilities, from being elastic, and basically give you that environment and also a way to protect that private cloud environment. So having the ability to look at all the different assets and exposures that someone might have in public cloud and provide that in a private cloud environment is really what we're trying to do in that space. Then the last thing is, we see a lot of traffic. A lot of people often will spend most of their time protecting inbound traffic that's coming from the internet into their network. Maybe they're trying to also do the same thing for any outbound traffic to make sure that nothing is being exfiltrated out of their network. But if we talk to a typical customer that we work with, as much as 90% of their traffic is actually going what we call east to west, or basically between applications. And so the idea of segmentation, or if you've heard microsegmentation, continues to be something that is very important to our customers, especially if their applications are living across these different environments. If they're living across two different clouds, the ability to provide sort of that east-west security has become even more important than it was 2-3 years ago. Especially if you're a company who's developing using containerized development ecosystems, then the ability to have visibility into that lateral traffic and prevent any potential lateral spread of attacks is paramount. On the bottom of this line, really, the second thing we're trying to do in the, if you want to call it the non-physical space, is to really help our customers embrace the benefits of artificial intelligence. And whether or not you're trying to just encourage your employees to leverage a third-party LLM or model to be more productive, maybe they're just an office worker, they need help with office documents. Maybe they're a developer who needs to help that developer with code completion. So helping basically your employees leverage AI and ML, but making sure that there are guardrails around that usage, so that number one, you have visibility to that adoption, that that if someone is sending a prompt to outside your network, that they're not accidentally or intentionally entering potential company secrets or PII or customer data. So in other words, making sure that nothing leaves your network that it shouldn't through a prompt. At the same time, if for some reason your employee is reaching out to a model that has been compromised, the last thing you'd want to do is have that response come back with malicious code that they're going to then use as part of your customer application. So making sure that there's some guardrails and protection there, both in both directions. And the second use case is really any customers who, or if anybody here on the call potentially is either writing new AI applications or they're adding AI to existing applications. Essentially, when you add AI to your environment, you are adding a new ecosystem, a new tech stack to your environment, just like the first time you added cloud to your physical environment. And as you add new technology, new ecosystems to your environment, you're essentially increasing your attack surface. And even more so with AI, a lot of the attacks that we're seeing in AI are things that we didn't see a year ago. So, concepts like prompt injections, for instance, most people didn't hear about 12 months ago. Now there are at least 12 different categories of just prompt injections. So again, if you're trying to leverage, if you are starting to leverage AI technology, your existing tools that you have today really weren't built to look at, identify and protect against these new modern AI threats that we're seeing. So we've done a lot of work to really make sure that as customers do adopt AI, that we have a solution that they're able to move forward with that AI adoption safely and securely. So, just like, things like model scanning, AI red teaming, even agentic security, these are all, things that we have today available. These are not vaporware. These aren't things that are coming soon. These are things we've had actually since these have been in the market, generally available for probably 16 months now. So these are very mature, very well established I would argue best in class. Out of all security vendors in this space, I think we have some of the best solutions for AI security. So if anyone on the call is kind of starting to dip your toe into that world, let us know so we can help you move forward on those with great success. I do want to just call out that we do just about 2 or 3 months ago, we announced that we are offering our customers complimentary assessments. So if you are moving into cloud, public cloud adoption, multi-cloud adoption, hybrid cloud adoption, and or AI adoption, if you would like us to help you identify potential, even if you just want us to give you some visibility into the assets that you have in those environments, but definitely if you want to help us identify any potential threats in those environments, we now have free assessments that you can leverage to do just that. And these essentially are assessments that we would run with you with your help, and they come with an output, an actual report that you can leverage and provide your leadership team and other folks who might be stakeholders around your security practices. All right, so focus area number 2. This is again, where Palo got started. We just turned 20 years old this year. I think everybody knows that we started as a hardware firewall vendor. Today, we are still the market leader for physical firewall security. We own the market share for physical firewalls, and we are not letting our foot off the gas. So we just are announcing 14 new models to support, sort of any use case that a customer might be in. In this Orion launch, in this, a month ago, we announced basically 2 new families: the 5500 series that you see here on the left, and the 500 series that you see in the middle, and then a new ruggedized firewall on the right. And again, we don't have a ton of time, so I won't go into too much detail. I'll just say that the 5500 really, we think, is probably from a price performance perspective, best in the market in terms of something to protect a typical, medium-sized enterprise data center. And then the 500 series in the middle, really designed for either a branch scenario. So if you have multiple office locations, or if you're just a small company, if you don't have a lot of traffic, you may not need something any more than this. So really great capabilities. Even if you look at just the besides the fact that the performance and throughput is a lot better than our previous models of firewalls, we are also adding additional capabilities in terms of inputs and outputs and other options physically on the appliance.
Hey, Eric.
Yeah.
Eric, quick question. David in the chat was asking if 12.1 is a recommended stable release. And I just want to clarify something, and you can keep me honest here. I don't believe 12.1 is recommended or stable yet. It is coming up. But the main reason we're talking about it is because the new hardware, when we're talking about the 500 series, is shipping with 12.1. So it's something folks need to be aware of when they're purchasing, correct? They won't have the ability, to bump down on the new hardware. They will on all of the old hardware, correct?
Yeah, that's right. So all these hardware models that you're seeing here, they will ship with 12.1. So the way I would say is, from stability standpoint, we historically, in the last, maybe let's just say 4 or 5 years, we have been shipping OS every year or less, which again, we're not doing that because we want to. We're doing that really because we feel like we have to keep up with the threats that we're seeing in the market. So for better or for worse, our adversaries are moving at a fast and furious pace. And so, when we release new operating systems, it really is to keep pace with those threats that we're seeing. But we recognize that this release actually, that fast, rapid release cycle, from a stability standpoint, maybe hasn't been the greatest experience for everybody. So we actually took more time than usual for this Orion launch it's actually been a couple of years, I think, since our last operating system. We were going to announce this, earlier than September, but we actually, we kind of put the brakes on and really made sure that this release is rock solid. So yeah, I mean, it's basic. I would argue it's stable, again, because we've been working on it for a better part of over a year. So
gold. Sorry to interrupt, and maybe we'll leave the questions till the end, but great answer. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, you bet. Great question too. Okay, I think I covered this, but essentially we continue to just have really great leaps in our performance every time we release new firewalls, both again from the throughput, and we are hoping that all the customers here, that your throughput is increasing over time. That means your business is healthy, growing, and we want to support that growth. So and again, that's really what we're trying to do, is leverage the greatest technology, that you all are getting the best security in the world, but you're also getting the best performance in the world as well. We recognize that some people get a bonus depending on how fast their network runs. So I'll leave it at that. I'll move to the next, because I know before I blink, we'll run out of time. Before I step off of our kind of network security topic, I do want to mention that in case anyone here does not know, we do have a program to help our customers adopt new firewalls. So we have what we call a refresh program. There are other vendors who aren't in security who also call their appliance upgrades refresh. So I think this is probably not a new concept, but just know that we do have this available. Essentially, what we're trying to do is make it dead simple from an investment standpoint. That if you have 4, 5, 6, 8-year-old firewalls, and they're coming up for renewal, the pricing to move from a older firewall to a brand new firewall should be in the same ballpark as just renewing that old firewall. So we want to make sure that from a cost perspective, it makes sense to go ahead and just move to new hardware. And again, with the idea that we want to make sure that you are equipped with the latest technology, that we don't want you to be on your back foot against our adversaries. And again, we also don't want you to struggle with performance if you are starting to see additional throughput requirements that maybe you didn't have 4 years ago. So just essentially making sure you always have that option. We want to take the pricing off the table for that. Okay, so moving on, we like I mentioned, about 2 years ago, roughly, we came up, and I'm gonna skip this, I think. I can, there we go. Oops, go back one, there we go. About 2 years ago, we announced a new solution we call Strata Cloud Manager. So for anybody here who, it's always hard to say if we have new customers or existing customers on these calls, but anybody who's using what we have in the market today called Panorama, this is our basically unified management solution to manage our firewalls. About 2 years ago, we released a new offering called Strata Cloud Manager, which is another way to manage your firewalls, but it's also a way to manage your SASE and access. If you're familiar, if you're using our SD-WAN solutions, any of our kind of what we call Prisma access solutions, essentially anything that is providing that access as a service, those are also things that are able to be managed by the solution. So this is a kind of all-in-one true single pane of glass that can again manage your SASE solutions as well as your firewalls. Strata Cloud Manager is also a great leap forward in terms of its visualization. So from a UI perspective, historically Panorama is pretty straightforward. It's really, there's nothing visually exciting about it. But Strata Cloud Manager really has great visualizations to give you visibility, like very easy visuals on your users, applications, your environments, potential threats. And then the third thing that we're really focused with on Strat Cloud Manager is leveraging AI and ML. So we recognize a lot of customers don't have huge, armies of security engineers. And so we want to make Strat Cloud Manager dead simple for just someone who's maybe a single IT manager and, again, doesn't have huge background in how to write an amazing security policy. Strat Cloud Manager is very proactive. And so by leveraging things like ML and AI, Strat Cloud Manager can point out potential issues that again, Panorama was never meant to do. Panorama was always, it was taking orders from the administrator. Strat Cloud Manager is actually giving you proactively guidance and advice based on things that it's seen, again, by leveraging AI and ML. So just to give you an example, like if you were to write a policy in Strat Cloud Manager and maybe you didn't write it the right way, maybe it was incorrect, Strat Cloud Manager would actually catch that and say, hey, listen, I don't, did you mean to write your policy this way? You might want to rewrite it a different way based on best practices. Here is the recommended way of potentially writing that policy. And it'll actually give you guidance on like how much time it'll take to make these changes. So the goal is, again, to make your lives a lot easier and simpler, whether or not you are an expert in firewall management or not. We just added the concept of Copilot to our Strat Cloud Manager solution. So now you can even speak to Strat Cloud Manager in a kind of a natural human language. Again, something you weren't able to do with Panorama. What we have done, we've made a bunch of new updates in sort of the usability and capability of Strat Cloud Manager. But what we've really done is from a huge go back 1 second. Sorry. What we've done from a capability standpoint is really make the migration from Panorama to Strat Cloud Manager a lot easier. So what was happening is we would show customers this new solution, at an executive briefing or at a conference or something, and customers would get super excited. They're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. We love this. We want it. How do we adopt it? And then there would start to be the discussion around what it would take to move from Panorama to Strat Cloud Manager, which was a ton of work. And so that really kind of killed a lot of folks' interest in the solution. So the big announcement, really, the biggest pillar of innovation that I think that we've made in this area is making that migration a lot easier. The title of this slide says effortless migration. That might be a little, from a marketing perspective, that might be a little bit optimistic, but for the most part, it's very easy now, especially compared to how it used to be to migrate from Panorama to Strat Cloud Manager. So if you're a customer on this call and you've seen this, and then you've explored how to migrate from Panorama to Strat Cloud Manager and said, heck, this is going to take way too much time or effort, please consider taking a second look at this, find out really what now the steps that are required for migration. You'll see it's just a lot easier of an experience. And also, and this is maybe something Peter can talk about, if there's if you don't have the time or the resources, even for as simple as this migration will be, you can always leverage CDW and their services to help you migrate from Panorama to Strat Cloud Manager. So I love Strat Cloud Manager, so I can't say enough about it. I've been talking to customers about it for the last couple of years, and I'm so excited about the migration simplification, because I know how many discussions have just kind of died after people learn about that path. So take the time to definitely check that out after that. We can always organize a follow-up call if we needed to. But let me move to the next section. So basically, this is a 4 out of 5, and I'll, this one I think I can make pretty quick. For anybody who, again, isn't familiar with our firewall ecosystem, as I mentioned, we have different security subscriptions that you add to our firewalls to increase the capability, the out-of-box capabilities for the firewalls. And we are very intentional on how on which subscriptions that we create that are available in the market, really these are designed to follow what we call an attack chain or a kill chain, or a life cycle of a typical attack. And so you can see, and I won't go through this just in the interest of time, but there are different areas that that are attack vectors. And so what we do is we provide additional capabilities using our subscriptions in each one of these areas. And what I really want people to keep kind of keep in mind is, a lot of times companies are purchasing another vendor to do each one of these. So you might have a vendor for your firewall, and then you might have 8 different vendors to provide these capabilities. And you can enable these capabilities on your firewall with literally a couple checks in your Static Cloud Manager or Panorama, as long as you have the licensing. And so again, the idea of vendor consolidation, getting rid of all these tools that don't talk to one another, that's really where we're focused, is making it very easy to enable these different use cases with a single solution. And just from a packaging standpoint, for anybody who doesn't know, you can purchase these security subscriptions individually, but you can also buy all these together as a bundle. And you can see what I have up here at the top. The pricing is essentially, if you are using 2 or 3 subscriptions, financially, it's the same price to just go ahead and purchase the bundle for all 6. So I would highly encourage folks to, number one, take a look at these subscriptions, give it, either have Palo and CDW help you, kind of go through these, spend an hour and double clicking on each one of these to give you some visibility onto what the capabilities are. But also, if you end up using, even really 1 or 2, I would still encourage you to think about the bundle, because again, you might have future use cases that you'll already be licensed for. The 2 things that we have made big improvements on in the Orion launch is in 2 areas. One is what we call the device security subscription. And we work on this, the IoT subscription previously, but what's happening is companies are needing this capability for other use cases besides IoT devices on their network. So IoT devices, yes, but other things like OT devices, and then other assets, in their inventory, basically providing visibility into all those devices, and then giving some recommendations on how to secure those devices, has really become, really important in the last, I'd say, 2 years. So we've added a lot more capabilities in our device security subscription, and then we're also seeing a big trend where attackers are starting to really go after the DNS translation technology as a new attack vector. And so we've entered the market as providing, Palo is now a DNS security resolver provider. So again, this is something that you would have to work with another third party to provide your organization. We can now provide that capability as part of this security subscription. So we can act as the security resolver or the DNS resolver, and we can secure that technology at the same time. Again, these are both part of that bundle that I just showed in the previous slide. So if you do, if you want to double click on these, again, I'm happy to have a conversation. In fact, we're doing a big IoT enablement session for CDW and customers in the US next week. So would love to kind of get in front of folks again if we want to double click on 1 or both of these as well. Okay, so last focus area, and before I turn it over to Peter and then answer questions, I see a bunch of rolling in, so that's great. I appreciate the people paying attention, asking great questions. I always get a little worried when it's completely empty and there's no questions being asked. But the last section that I really wanted to cover is this idea of quantum readiness. And you know, I wanted to highlight that no matter if you're in, you know, public sector or you know, a private industry, you know, healthcare, financial services, really any vertical, any industry is starting to figure out you know, what they plan to do for the future around quantum readiness. But in addition to companies just thinking about this, it's actually, you know, something that we're starting to see more mandates, more compliancy regulations being developed. So the concept here, for anyone who's not familiar with this topic, is that at some point, whether this is 2 years from now or 10 years from now, in the near future, there's agreement that at some point, you know, in the next, let's say again, within 10 years, we will see technology available that will allow adversaries to decrypt or basically open up the encryption that everybody uses today. And this is whether they're encrypting financial data, healthcare records. I mean, you know, the secret to Coca-Cola's, you know, their flavor, like whatever secrets are being, you know, essentially encrypted. That encryption technology that people are leveraging today can be opened up using these quantum computers in the future. And so when we talk about being quantum ready or being quantum safe, all we're doing is we're really talking about moving from current encryption technology that people use today to a better encryption technology that is quantum proof for this technology that will be coming out in the near future. That encryption technology exists today, but obviously moving from what everybody's using today to a new encryption technology requires quite a bit of planning, quite a bit of time from a migration standpoint, especially if you're heavily leveraging that type of technology. So really what we're trying to do as a kind of a starting point is helping customers just identify and get an inventory of what they will probably need to do, or what's leveraging that current encryption technology today that they will need to move to a better technology in the future. And so with a combination of both the new operating system and our firewalls and that StratCloud Manager that unified management solution that I mentioned a second ago, what we're really trying to do as a first step is just give customers that visibility. And so even from a nice, easy dashboard perspective and reporting, we want to give customers a very good idea of the endpoints, applications, and infrastructure that they're probably going to need to address before these quantum computers come online. Obviously, a lot more work after that, but this is the starting point. So, and we don't want people freaking out. We know that people are still trying to get their head around cloud security and AI security, and all of a sudden, gosh, now we have to worry about quantum readiness. We know that that's, these are things that are really, causing a lot of mind share. So we want to just start simple and give you some idea of where to start. That's really the bottom line. All right, so final thoughts. I think really that, and I mentioned this again before I turn this over to Peter, that our goal is to provide all this capability using a single platform. We don't want you to have to buy 30, 40, 50 different tools. We talk to customers who come to our headquarters who have like 80 different security tools. they're miserable. So in addition to this, probably overspending a lot of money, their teams are fatigued, and that again opens doors for errors. So our goal is to really make things a lot more simplified and give you all visibility by leveraging a single operating system across all these different environments. So again, whether you're in a data center, public cloud, private cloud, AI, container, whatever the use case, it's all using the same technology. So that is it. I think that's all I have for Orion. Peter, let's see. I'll skip past. I'll skip past the use case, but yeah.
If you just skip over to slide number 36, if you're okay with that, Eric. Just if you're okay driving for another minute.
I am 36, right?
Yeah, please. Sorry, that one. Just one pass. Just pass it. Go back to the. Yeah, sorry. We'll start here. So again, thanks everybody for being part of this call. Just want to quickly introduce you as well to my counterpart, Kevin Ellsworth. So together we manage the cybersecurity architects here at CDW Canada. I'm based in Toronto, although today I'm sitting in the beautiful Vancouver, and Kevin is in Vancouver as well today. So all that being said, we're going to answer the questions. We just want to take a quick 2 minutes and just talk through CDW and Palo Alto's partnership. So really what I want to focus on is what services can CDW provide you and your customers, along with what we can do along with Palo Alto to help you. So what we're showing here is really the 3 core elements of our professional services. So these are engagements that we would do along with our project management team. Our professional services have the ability to do implementation services. Those are the rapid deployment implementations, custom design and integration, greenfield installations, which is really a brand new installation, and as well, migration from a legacy vendor over to a next generation Orion-based solution from Palo Alto. We also offer an ongoing basis of security capability reviews. Those are health checks. We recommend we would go in and help you with health checks once a year where we can, as well as a best practice assessment. So we take the best practice assessment and apply it against governance compliance regulations, and allows us to ensure that you are compliant with those regulations if possible. Tuning optimization as well is something we offer. One of the last things we also offer, I'm going a bit quick because I want to make sure we get to the questions. One other thing we offer, which is very unique to the Canadian landscape, is we're also a Palo Alto authorized training center. So that sets us apart from other partners. What this really means is people like Asif Khan, who's also on the call, he is one of our certified instructors. So these instructors actually have real world experience. So Asif actually manages the professional services team. So what they bring to them, to those sessions and those ATC courses, is not only the content that Palo Alto provides, it's also real world examples, real world integration examples, and so forth. So not only are you getting great education, you're also getting real world examples and real world scenarios and how real things work in real life, as opposed to some of those kind of vaporware, if that makes sense. So Eric, if you don't mind, just go ahead one more screen.
Sure.
And I think this is a great segue to some of the questions. Sorry, I'm not seeing the screen move. There we go. Thank you. Just in regards to the Orion, because it's obviously, as to Eric's kind of main point, it's obviously a large OS upgrade. There's a lot of new features and functionalities. One thing I do want to highlight is CDW Canada. Of course, we have the ability to do pan OS upgrades on your behalf. Again, as I was mentioning, this comes with people in the industry, so a professional services team located across Canada. We also have the ability to do this in line, remote. We can be on site if need be. But what I really want to focus on is you're not alone in a journey. We're there to help you and help ensure that your upgrades go smooth. We're there for the actual migration themselves. We do the migrations, we do post-migration support of the upgrade itself. And we also, of course, with these engagements, becomes a project manager as well. So end to end, we're able to help you. And what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to kind of pivot, if that's okay, Eric. There's been a few questions. We've answered a few of them, but I just want to go back and just kind of highlight some of the questions that came through. One of the first questions that came through was around from Greg around the 400 support. Kevin actually answered that question in line. One of your slides didn't have make mention to the 400 series. We've also already answered that question in line. And we also answered the question from David around the 12.1 stability, whether that's considered the recommended or stability release. That was also answered. One of the questions from Rox, and maybe Eric, you can take this one as well, is can you upgrade from 11.2 H7? And what about running a VM? So Rox, I'm assuming you're referencing, can you upgrade a VM to Orion? That's my assumption, but maybe you want to clarify that, Rox? If you're still on the call.
Actually, what might be a better thing is, Rox, without knowing your environment offhand, it may make sense, reach out through your account manager. We've got 22 CDW security architects, all certified in Palo Alto, who can help you walk through and answer some of these questions. I think that's probably the best bet rather than solving it here on the webinar.
Sure, that's fair.
If we jump to the next one, Greg, you were asking about SCM support for legacy operating code. Eric, do you want to go through that, and maybe we can add in a little bit after that?
Yeah, so I can't remember how far back SCM goes, but in general, anything that is still, anything that hasn't been, end of life, I guess is the best way to put it, is should be supported by SCM. So I would assume that anything that anybody's using on this call today, they could definitely use SCM for. SCM is I glossed over this, but again, it's for any of our SASE solutions. So anything that's branded Prisma. It's also for our physical firewalls, but also our VM series firewalls and CN series firewalls, and in addition, our AI runtime new solution, and also the security subscriptions, including device security. So just to give an example, like device security a year ago what was IoT security subscription required its own management console to give that visibility into those IoT devices. We've now rolled that capability into SCM, and so now you have visibility into any of those devices through that console. So it really is truly a unified management solution.
That's great.
Nice work, Derek. You actually answered Greg's question farther down the line about OT security and the switchover. One of the other things I would mention here, Greg, you've got to, I assume, and I don't need you to answer here on the webinar. We should probably set up a meeting between yourself and one of our security architects. Happy to join that meeting as well. But you're probably looking at, does it make sense, especially with this new upgrade, to move from what may be a Panorama installation fully into SCM? And the answer to that is always, well, it really depends on what you have currently. And that's probably a discussion we want to have with one of the security architects and go through. So set up that meeting through your account manager, and we can go through everything and make it a customized discussion, especially around your particular upgrade. That's one of the reasons why we've left the PAN upgrade service up on the screen. The big thing there is, especially when you're moving to a major release like 12, we've all done releases, done upgrades on 11.2 to 11.3, et cetera, et cetera. The key thing is when you're going through a major release, sometimes it makes sense to have somebody who's done it a number of times over your shoulder. Now, in this case, because Orion was just released about a month ago, our technicians are going through and doing these upgrades within customer environments on a weekly basis, rather than one and done that you may be doing over the course of the year. So always available to assist with that, go through some of the discussions. The big thing is going through and reading all those release notes. Every environment is a little bit unique, and making sure that when we go through and do this upgrade for you, or when you go through and do this upgrade, you want a no risk upgrade as the devices go through.
Yeah, that's definitely where we can help out for sure, right? Bring in some of the real world experience for sure, and take a look at your actual environment and make sure it makes sense to upgrade and what the upgrade process looks like for sure. Great point, Kevin.
There was also that question, David was asking about the DNS service from a performance perspective, measured on a service like DNS benchmark. I don't, Eric, maybe the new DNS service, has it been measured yet? I
haven't seen any performance testing for it. That's not to say it hasn't been done. I haven't had visibility to that. But we could definitely take it offline and see if we can give some performance testing or some benchmarking. Take it as an action item.
Yeah, we'll follow up, David. We'll follow up with you for sure and take it offline.
I would say just generally, we're really good. I've worked for other companies who have platforms, and I really would say that Palo Alto Networks is very mindful. Like if we decide we want to jump into an area, we don't want to do it unless we're considered kind of best in class. So I would assume that we're up there at the matching any alternative capabilities. So yeah,
that's a fair point. Tons of internal and rigorous testing before this went live. So
yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, team. It was a really good presentation. Lots of really great actionable insights that our customers can take away. So I just sent a message on the chat because I know we're at time. So the recording for this presentation will be sent via email. If you have any further questions about Pan Orion, you can contact your CDW account team. We'll also send over all of the answers to the follow-up questions in the chat through the email alongside the webinar recording. Feel free to reach out to your account manager as well as our security team. We're here to help you in all of your security solutions and questions that you may have.